I don't have a house. They burned it down, Harvey. I don't have a house.
The machine didn't just metaphorically burn Hollywood to the ground. Parts of Los Angeles literally burned. Hello, hopeful patriots. My name is Kelly Jackson, and welcome to my channel, Still Not Canceled. And I'm going to give you a little clip to start so that you'll know exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
I'm Karen Bass, and I'm running on my accomplishments.
Los Angeles on fire, mayor nowhere to be found.
We were so prepared for wildfires. I didn't even have to be in the country when the town burned. I've addressed the homeless problem. Now, most of them won't stab you as long as you don't make eye contact. Our climate change policy is so strong. We've brought down energy use in the Palisades by 99%. Almost none of the needles in children's playgrounds have AIDS on them. If you like the last 4 years, you're going to love the next 4. Vote Bass.
So you heard that gunshot at the end of that video. Yes, today we will be again talking about Spencer Pratt and what created him, the person. I say that because just like America, that had had enough of the government establishment machine, enter reality star and globally successful businessman Donald Trump, who made America great again. Pratt is the result of years of greed and self-interested leadership in Los Angeles and a conglomeration of politicians who are literally burning the city down. Hollywood spent decades creating a culture obsessed with fame, performance, image, and political activism. And now one of the most perfectly manufactured products of that culture is Spencer Pratt. And he is turning around and he is calling that machine broken, which honestly should tell you something. Because if Los Angeles has deteriorated so badly that a reality TV villain from the golden age of the celebrity culture, which I think arguably we could say around the early 2000s was that time, is suddenly sounding more grounded than the people running the city, maybe the problem isn't Spencer Pratt. Of course, they would say that the problem is Spencer Pratt, but what's he really doing? He's just shining a light on the problems that were already there and have been there for decades. Maybe the problem is the political and cultural machine Hollywood built itself around, a machine that has become so ideological and so incompetent and so detached from reality that it is literally burning the city down, as I just said, around the very people who created it. Because I think it's safe to say that that Palisades fire was the home of many of the homes that belong to Hollywood elite. Directors, producers, banking moguls, tech giants, everybody who was anybody. If they're going to have a house, it's going to be in the hills. There were some people that were left there who had purchased homes there 30, 40, maybe even 50 years ago before California real estate became absolutely insanely expensive. There were still some folks there. There was one guy that actually made the news for fighting off the fire with literally his garden hose. This is the story that nobody in Hollywood really wants to talk about. Hollywood, as most of us probably know, once represented the American dream, and no politics, no activism, no ideological conformity. Just dreams. A place where outsiders and risk takers and entrepreneurs, they came to create stories that would captivate the world. I mean, look at stories like, Forrest Gump and the 10 Commandments and Sunset Boulevard. And just think of all the great, amazing films that we've been able to go into our movie theaters, sit down for a couple of hours and just get lost in the story. And that is what Hollywood did for the world. The origin story of Hollywood, in the event that some of you don't know, we're going to take a little trip down memory lane or down history lane. For those who don't know, early Hollywood formed as an escape from East Coast control and patent restrictions that lived in the city of New York. A lot of that silent film industry was operating in the city of New York. It was very crowded, and there was a lot of big city things that were going on there already. Taxes, levies, fines, fees, and as we see here, as we learn, patent restrictions by the state. Filmmakers migrated west for freedom, sunlight, land, and opportunity. Out west to California, where it was wide open orange groves and there weren't a lot of state regulations because the industry just simply wasn't there yet. Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and D.W. Griffith formed United Artists, which we all are very familiar with that name. We grew up with United Artists films, watching United Artists films. Hollywood became synonymous with creativity and ambition. And right now, what I'm going to do is show you a clip. Here they are. Just for those of you who don't know, this is Douglas Fairbanks Jr. Of course, this is Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford, and here's D.W. Griffiths off to the side. Here they are. Incredible. So that was the start. That was the beginning of the Hollywood film industry right there. Easy peasy. Silent films, 4 people started the whole thing. Hollywood was built by rebels and storytellers and visionaries and entrepreneurs. It was never supposed to be a machine. I don't think that they would have ever intended that. So you go into what is commonly referred to as the golden age of Hollywood. That would have been from 1935 to 1965. We had a massive studio system that was created, which included the original Big 5 studios. So that would be Paramount Pictures, MGM or Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Warner Brothers, RKO, think King Kong, Fay Ray, that was RKO Pictures, and 20th Century Fox. 4 of those still exist today. RKO was absorbed by one of the other large movie makers, and I don't remember which one. My son would know. American cinema dominated globally. Dominated. It was shown everywhere. Films projected confidence, aspiration, patriotism, and most especially glamour. And here is a great example of that.
Had enfolded her.
I can't go on with the scene. I'm too happy. Mr. DeMille, do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you. I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again. You don't know how much I've missed all of you. And I promise you I'll never desert you again. Because after Salome, we'll make another picture and another picture. You see, this is my life. It always will be. There's nothing else. Just us. And the cameras. And those wonderful people out there in the dark. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
For those of you who don't know that classic Hollywood scene, that's Gloria Swanson. And that is Gloria Swanson losing her mind because she plays this narcissistic, crazy, self-obsessed, vain actress who can't let go. But it sort of embodies that whole, the glamour of Hollywood's golden era. We think of those kinds of movies. You know, Hollywood became America's cultural export engine. Everybody wanted to know what we were doing, where we were going, how we were doing it, and they got a glimpse of American culture through our films. That's who they knew. That's who they figured out who we were. That's who they could see who we were. Whether you liked every aspect of old Hollywood or not, it believed in spectacle and storytelling and selling the audience a dream bigger than themselves. Moving into the 70s and 80s, you still had a feeling of cultural connectedness from those making movies in Hollywood and TV as well. You had movies like E.T., Back to the Future. Back to the Future was all about America's heyday, sort of. When people think of Americana, they think of the 50s and everybody, that era right after the war, and everybody was happy and everybody was prospering. And that's what we think of when we think of America. And then as far as television reflecting that sort of Americana, you had shows like Roseanne and Family Ties, and it reflected the appetites of Americans and how Hollywood was more than willing to meet them. Then you had the 90s and the early 2000s revival of Hollywood. By the 90s and the early 2000s, Hollywood had sort of reinvented itself again. Big movies, big stars, big culture. Los Angeles continued to feel like the center of entertainment and possibility. People went to Hollywood to make their dreams come true. Then over time, slowly, and I do think you started to see this in the 90s. I remember watching the Oscars somewhere around the mid 90s and having to sit through numerous political speeches by Richard Gere talking about the Dalai Lama and Susan Sarandon and the Green Party and all of her environmentalism. And it just got so boring. You didn't even want to watch it anymore. And then over time, it just got more and more and more. And now Hollywood, it always sort of culturally always sort of leaned left. That wasn't anything new, but something changed when politics stopped being adjacent to entertainment and became the entertainment itself. The audience was no longer something to entertain. It was something to lecture, to help conform and shape and indoctrinate, quite frankly. And now there's just no limits on how repulsive the jokes can be. Gone are the days of Carson and Leno, who made mild jokes out of everyone, but they weren't personal, and now they are. And here's the proof of that. I'm going to show you this clip.
Melania made an appearance at the First Lady's Luncheon today. This is an annual event held at the Washington Hilton where the First Lady gives a speech and sometimes gets a gift.
Mrs. Trump, it is a true honor to have you with us today. We are delighted to present a special gift, and it's on the other side, and if you can see it, it's a painting. We're going to unveil it. There we go.
Beautiful. It's so realistic. It's almost like you're on the plane with them.
So, yeah, just gross. There's just no floor for these people. And, here's the irony. The very political machine that Hollywood overwhelmingly supported, the bureaucracy, the activist governance, the ideological leadership, the endless performative politics, eventually began destroying the city that made Hollywood possible, in the first place. Now we have issues with homelessness, crime, cost of living, businesses leaving California in droves, namely the one that has come to Tennessee that makes my kids the most happy is In-N-Out Burger coming to Tennessee. Hollywood production leaving California. The COVID shutdowns really, I think, contributed a lot to that. The strikes, public frustration, and visible decay. The illusion has started collapsing, the glamour faded, and then COVID just accelerated everything. Then the fire literally burned everything. One of the most painfully symbolic moments, imaginable. The machine didn't just metaphorically burn Hollywood to the ground. Parts of Los Angeles literally burned. And I'm going to share some of that with you. Some of the most valuable, most beautiful real estate in the state, definitely in the Los Angeles area. It is millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of real estate. And there were no water. There was no water.
PCH are being blown by fierce winds. It is like driving through hell itself down here.
Those parts of California burned to the ground. Enter Spencer Pratt. So although he's one of the loudest people finally saying, strangely, he's one of the loudest people finally saying enough. A guy from reality television, as we've said over and over again, a guy who came directly from the entertainment culture itself. So I just showed you how that entertainment culture was built up over time. And it had such great influence. And you would think that any city government that had that as its center would do whatever it could to nurture and care for that industry, because it is what essentially it provides the infrastructure for so many businesses and so many jobs in that direct area. Spencer Pratt isn't criticizing the system from the outside. Obviously, he's part of it. He became one of its casualties when his home burned down in the Pacific Palisades. It stopped being abstract politics. It became very personal. And the irony is, almost impossible to ignore, because a member of the culture that helped build modern Hollywood is now fighting the political machine that many believe is destroying what remains of the City of Angels. So again, we draw this, President Trump parallel, and whether people love him or hate him, Spencer Pratt increasingly sounds like what many frustrated Californians want politically. Someone willing to disrupt the machine, someone willing to say the system is broken, because eventually ideology, it collides with reality. Eventually performative politics collide with consequences. And eventually the people who help sustain the system find themselves crushed underneath it. So let's go to how much of the mass exodus, part of what was discussed in the debate, and the production that is leaving in droves.
We have expedited permits. I established one person who is a czar to provide concierge services for the industry. We also lowered the costs to do filming in Los Angeles. We have a long way to go, but we are absolutely making headway because of policies that I put in place.
Even Massachusetts has better tax credits than Hollywood. We needed a mayor 3 years ago that was going to Sacramento and fighting the governor to get uncapped tax credits. We need post-production tax credits, and we're still going to have drug addicts all over the street because they're treatment first, open beds, not mandatory treatment. Do you know, I talked to producers, they have to pay gang members right now to keep the streets safe, to go film anything on the streets of LA.
So there you go. I mean, he's saying all the things. I mean, that is something that not a lot of people know, that he's having to, that's what film companies and producers are having to do to keep actors and cast and crew safe while they're filming. That is not an environment anybody would want to stay in. Let's go to this other clip of Spencer Pratt where he is talking to, I want to say it's Good Morning America.
Turning now to a story involving a former reality star, Spencer Pratt, who is running for mayor in Los Angeles. Pratt lost his home during the wildfires that destroyed much of the Pacific Palisades last year. In a campaign ad, he said he's been living in a trailer since then, but a new report alleges that is not true. Adam Yamaguchi has more on what Pratt is now saying.
This is where I live. They let my home burn down. I know what the consequences of failed leadership are.
This is how former reality TV star Spencer Pratt made his pitch to run for LA mayor. The 42-year-old, who lost his home in the devastating Palisades fire last year, has become one of the frontrunners in the race. TMZ is now reporting that Pratt has actually been staying at a luxury hotel in LA, not a trailer. In an interview with TMZ, Pratt said he did spend around 6 days in the last month at that hotel, in part due to security concerns.
Are you saying you live in that trailer?
I don't live anywhere is what I'm saying. I don't have a house. They burned it down, Harvey. I don't have a house. I don't need to sleep there every night. I don't need to go to the number 2 on that toilet. That is where I live. I am from the Palisades, Los Angeles, and I'm fighting for Los Angeles. So
the candidate, a registered Republican who has no political experience, is shaking up the LA mayoral race polling second just behind incumbent Mayor Karen Bass in a historically blue city.
This is your home.
This is my forward operating base. This is where I will be. As mayor, I want to live here.
In an exclusive interview last week, we spent time with Pratt, including inside his trailer.
I just got the wire to connect the power last night on the debate night. So I've been waiting weeks. My neighbors, it took 6 weeks for one wire to connect their power. So this idea that things are moving fast and red tape cut or what, it just shows you how long it takes for people to build in the city of LA. I truly believe I'm winning with 51% on June 2nd. That's how angry Angelenos are. They're not looking for the guy with they don't want an experienced politician. They're living what experienced politicians have done to their lives. So it's time for a change.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Adam Yamaguchi.
All right, we reached out to Pratt to get some more clarification on this controversy, but he did not immediately respond.
Controversy. The controversy that he had to spend 6 nights in a hotel instead of sleeping in his trailer. You just heard him say he just got power to it. They probably had a generator. And maybe because they have little kids, they went and spent 6 nights in a hotel. I don't understand TMZ trying to undermine this argument unless Harvey is being paid to do it. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. The narrative spin on all of this stuff. And that's why I wanted to show you one thing to the next thing to the next thing. We started with, a Hollywood that built an industry that created dreams where everybody could come and everybody could, create stories that would captivate the world. And it gave the world a bird's eye view into the American culture and who we are. And it's probably a lot of the reason why people came here and wanted to live here, because they saw a glimpse of who we are through our film and television industry. And now the city who manages all of it is not only not supporting it, they're driving it out of the state and the city. I've got one more clip for you to show how this is demonstrated. Let me share that with you, this one last clip, and then we're going to end with this.
LA says it's been working to flip the script when it comes to entertainment industry jobs moving out of the state of California.
State and local policy changes have tried to lure production back. NBC4's Carmen Dickerson took a closer look at newly released numbers to see if those programs are working.
Hollywood has good and bad news, according to a new report. And it's now not just an entertainment and economic story, it's a political one.
First, the feel-good story. From January to March of this year, the number of days projects spent filming in LA is up nearly 11% from the end of last year. The new report from Film LA showing year-over-year gains as well, with movie shoots up 52% from the last year. And there were gains in specific categories like dramas and comedies. But plot twist, reality bites.
It is the biggest dark spot in the recent report and had single-handedly the capacity to bring the whole quarter down.
Reality TV filming days plummeted by half. So overall, filming is still down 3.3% from this period last year.
We have much more to do, but I feel very good that production has increased.
With ballots starting to hit mailboxes, this industry analysis has been much anticipated. California losing productions to other parts of the world where filming is less expensive and easier to navigate has been a hot topic in the mayor and governor's races. Looking to lure back production last summer, California doubled money allocated for the film tax credit to a cap of $750 million. But people working in the industry tell us they want to see more.
I'd like to see the incentive uncapped. I think that's really important to stay competitive.
Since then, the state has approved about 147 productions for the credit.
Only 22 of those projects were guaranteed to be in production by the end of February. So what that means is after this report, we can look forward to a steady cadence of new work returning to Los Angeles.
Carmen Dickerson, NBC4 News.
So you just heard Karen Bass. We've got work to do, but yeah, it's really great. Things are really great. It sounds a lot like a 20-year incumbent state senator that I know very well in Tennessee, but I digress. Hollywood once sold the world the American dream. Now, even people inside Hollywood are wondering whether Los Angeles can survive the machine that consumed it. And maybe the strangest twist of all is that one of the people trying to save what's left is Spencer Pratt. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this little, this little story that I told you about how we got from where we started to where we are now, where Spencer Pratt seems to be the only guy really, truly interested in saving something that is arguably, you know, historically, it is the crown jewel of at least Southern California. And I know that there are a lot of people that rely and depend on it. So hopefully he will win June 2nd. And I would encourage anybody who, even if you don't live in California anymore, I would encourage you to support Spencer Pratt if you can. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. I will be back. And thanks so much for joining me, Kelly Jackson, here at Still Not Canceled, where we question everything, especially the narrative. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.